welcome to Sister Code episode 5.
5.
It's February.
We're like, I was saying, we're like little toddlers. Like, we're not quite grown, but like, we getting there.
We talk about something at 5.
Somebody's listening.
At 5, we talk about something.
So, happy February.
Happy Black History Month.
Happy Black History Month, girl.
Mm-hmm. Now, also, we obviously aren't recording. We're recording previous or prior to Valentine's Day, but
it's coming.
It's coming. And you guys would have just celebrated Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And it was so funny because before this we were talking about like Valentine's Day has looked so many different ways for each of us depending on like what season we're in.
For sure.
And it can be giving one thing. So whatever it is that it's giving for you is perfect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as you're finding some happiness. Yeah. Hopefully you're finding some happiness. That's the main event. And whatever that looks like.
Yeah, whether you're getting chocolate.
Or you are the chocolate. You know what I mean? 5, 6, 7, 8. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I love that. Okay, so we're going to start with 2 weeks in. Just a little check-in to see how we are, where we are with things in the month. Do you want me to start?
Sure.
Okay, so 2 weeks in, I would say, definitely, we're still in 75 soft for us and the homegirls. We've been doing a challenge, started it early January. And you know what? I think I can say for me, honestly, that it took me a while to find my routine. And then it also took me a while to like make things important that I don't usually. So I was finding out of the like 7 or 8 things that, you know, we kind of want or are trying to do, that like there were a few at the bottom that I just like was not doing. Mm-hmm. And as simple as like not taking my photo every day or not reading my 10 pages. And I think I was making excuses and like putting it to the end because I was like, well, that may not be what I'm not into that as much. But I've been trying to like flip it and make those things more important. So anyway, the 75 soft is going pretty smooth because it does organize things a little bit. Black History is just, I feel like as soon as the first dropped, I was like, yes, Black History Month, love us, love everything about us, want to celebrate us. How about you? What's in February been giving to you?
Well, my 75 soft has been a little bit of a struggle.
Okay, talk about it.
You know, you talked about seasons, but also like very specific scenarios can like throw things off too. So,
oh my gosh, for sure.
It was Aaron's birthday. We went on a trip.
Yeah. And
you know when you go on a trip and you're like, oh, whatever I was doing at home, I'm doing something different now.
Right. I'm on the beach.
You know, like
yeah.
And so. I think that it has been a little bit challenging, like, getting back into the rhythm since being home. And, I mean, it's also cool because, like you said, like, there's the different aspects of the challenge. And depending on your season, like, some of them might be easier than others. Some of them are a little bit more challenging to get to. But something that 75 Soft has given me so far is, like, it's kind of rekindled, like, a passion for reading that had lied dormant for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, I recently graduated from graduate school, and I had to do a lot of reading for school. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, you know, work life didn't really, how I managed my work life. Mm-hmm. balance didn't leave a whole lot of space for reading. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm back into the swing of things, and now that I am like holding myself accountable to reading, I've gotten through 2 big old books.
Damn. Were you doing like so? Are you
old.
an audio girly?
Okay,
or
now
are you doing this
that is the other piece.
Licking
so
your fingers
I've
going to the next page.
I have been the 2 big old books that I finished were audiobooks.
Okay, is that the wave?
Honestly,
I feel like the girls are doing that.
If you're for me, for like fiction books, I really have enjoyed audiobook because it really just allows you to like just listen,
get into
you know,
the story,
like and just feel along with it, you
visualize,
know.
Get it. Is it like? I mean, it's obviously not a complete like movie, but it's giving like you're in the characters, you're listening to the vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely giving like a different type of show.
Yeah.
You know, like
exactly.
a different like entry point to hearing a story or experiencing a story.
Yeah.
And it's been good. I've been listening at like 1.5 speed. I can only do that with like fictional books. I can't do that with like nonfiction. That's why I don't really do like audiobooks for nonfiction.
Yeah.
But it like kind of like moves things along, and it's like wait, you know?
Dope.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're moving quickly through those books.
Yeah. So that's been definitely a plus. Keeping up with my workouts has been challenging. That's been really challenging, but I'm giving myself some grace, and I'm also, you know, getting in it.
Yeah.
Getting it in.
Exactly.
So that's my 2 weeks in.
Okay.
Of February.
Beautiful. It's been a good start to a great year. We're still like just at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And like just to imagine that we're still kind of in the beginning of it. It's like it's okay. No pressure. Like you can hit the reset now again. I love it. Cool.
All right. So our next segment is Sis Picks, and so we wanted to talk a little bit about just the idea of accepting your sister's identity and like recognizing who your sister is and like just wholeheartedly accepting them for where they fall in their identity.
Absolutely.
And with that, for Sis Picks, we wanted to just kind of talk about like what memory is like most defining for you as it relates to like forming your identity and forming who you see yourself as. Right. So
absolutely.
What's up?
You go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so literally when we first started talking about this, I was like, okay, identity. I feel like the first couple things that came to my mind was definitely like Black woman, was, you know, queer woman, was tall woman, was woman in general. And I just feel like those were the first things that popped in my head. But I think the first memory that also popped in my head was when I first realized I was Black, I think. Or that was different than what everybody else was. Obviously I had eyes. I could see that we were different, but I guess that the difference that, you know, made me who I was could it be a positive or a negative is kind of what it was giving. So I was a kid. Mom actually came to bring me lunch one day and like come and sit and have lunch with me in the cafeteria. I want to say I was maybe in like second grade, and literally our mom is like blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, just like very German, still has very thick accent, especially back then, very thick. But just like, you know, we're her babies. So she's just like coming to me like it's a regular thing. She's giving, you know, bringing me lunch or whatever, coming to sit next to me. And I kid you not, everybody around me was like, who is that? You know, like whether it was just like this new person that they hadn't seen or very much like, is that her mom? And like whispers, you know, and in second grade, you're still very like, I want everybody to like me. Like, I don't, you know, it's when it starts really, I feel like. So mom came and sat with me, and the whole time it was the most awkward situation. It was just like, I didn't feel like we could really talk. Everybody was kind of watching. After, I guess some of the kids got the courage to come up to me and be like, was that your nanny? And I was like, excuse me? Like, nanny? Like, no, that was my mom. And they were just like, what? Like, you don't look like her. And I just was like, you're right, I don't, but like that's still my mom, you know. And immediately I felt this like shame and this like question mark of like, well, who am I then? You know, like they said you didn't look like me and I must need to look like you from what they were giving. So what am I? Where do I start? So I literally went home with her that same day, and I was like, Mom, like the kids were saying that you weren't my mom, and they were asking me, you know, told them the scenario, and she was so heartbroken. I could totally see it, and I think she was trying to hold back tears as well. And I don't know if she remembers the story, but it's a very big moment that stuck with me because one, I remember the hurt, and now looking back, I'm like, damn, as a mom, like you're probably like, girl, come on. I definitely carried you for 9 months, but you know, but again, identity was questioned, and immediately, just as kids, you just question it if others do, especially if others do. They're like, well, what is that? What are you doing? You're Black. She's this. And it's like, yeah, but that's who I know as mom.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I think that's the first moment that I can remember, like, questioning it and wondering, like, who am I?
Yeah.
And how do I fit into my life?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so interesting because we didn't really talk through, like, exactly what we would say about this. And, you know, when I was thinking about my memory, like, I have almost, like, a parallel memory of that happening to me, too.
Wow.
And they actually, the friends at my school actually asked, or actually said, I didn't know you were adopted.
Yeah.
And so, just as some backstory for those of you who don't know, our mom is from Germany.
Yeah.
Our dad, he's Black, American, was in the Army, was stationed in Germany. They met there. Then
that love story. Yeah.
So it's just interesting because, you know, I don't think that we're typically in those moments. We might not have been right next to each other, you know, like you had that conversation with mom independently. Right. I had a separate conversation with mom.
Did you?
She pulled out pictures, like, of being, like, us in the hospital, like, and I know that was heartbreaking. And, you know, just, not that we are mothers, but just the idea of, like, someone that you love and you, like, created this human, and, like, they're doubting, you know, and whether I don't think that the hurt came directed towards us at all, but like, just, you know, explaining that can be challenging, I'm sure. And so that was definitely one of the aspects for me. I think also with our mom is the only one in her family that lives here, or in her family prior to us, that lives here. And so, you know, we spent a lot of time with my dad's family. And I think, you know, because that there was a little bit of, like, a difference in time spent, I think it was kind of easier to just, for me at least, to just be like, oh, my family's Black, I'm Black.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my mom is white.
Right.
You know?
Period. Exactly. And that's how you associate it.
Yeah.
And we said it probably so many times, too, out loud.
Right, for sure.
Absolutely.
And even though we did grow up in a very mixed area where there was...
lots of diversity, would you say?
Yeah, and I would say it was more white people than not.
Yeah.
In the time that we lived there, and also going to the schools that we went to, just...
It was giving that.
It was giving that, and it was just that we were the Black kids.
Yeah.
In the class.
Yeah. But funny enough, we had, you know, European mom at home, which a lot of people would be surprised to know until they did know.
Right.
It was like, you knew if you knew.
Right.
But
and also having a European mom.
Different.
it's a little different.
Yeah.
Than, you know, having a white American mom.
Yeah.
And a European mom married to a Black man. It's
a whole bunch of different stuff going on.
Our story was our story.
Yeah.
And our identity is because of that. And I think that that's everybody's story, is that, you know, we can create these ideas or these labels of identity. Oh, that's a Black girl. Oh, that's a Black boy. Oh, that's...
But that doesn't tell their story.
You know, it doesn't. And there's so many little layers that, like, go into how you see yourself.
Oof.
And I think it's important that if we really are showing up for each other in a way that's authentic, that we're, one, doing the work to know what our sisters, you know, consider their identity. And then to do the work to make sure that we're being as accepting as we possibly can.
Absolutely. That's the whole thing. I feel like that's the part that some people are missing these days, is like, but I see who you are, so I know exactly what I'm seeing. I pegged you. I pinned you down, and you're just like, whoa. That's a piece of a, like, onion. That's just a layer, you know?
For sure.
Wow.
For sure.
I love that. Woo! Getting deep already. Okay, so we're going to go into the code breakdown. For this month, it is sisters accept and support each other's identity. And so what do you have to kind of say about that? What do you think about that for you?
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, where, like, it's one thing to see your sister for how the world sees them, right? The people who don't know them intimately, how they show up in their work, how they show up for people. But I think it's another thing to really know and accept and support someone's identity in like an intimate space. And by intimate, I really mean, you know, like that close friendship that is like a sister or, you know, actual sisters. And I think that the way you do that is doing it for yourself, you know, like first. I think that in order for you to really be able to even fathom what it means to support someone's identity outside of the limitations of what people have decided someone's identity is, you have to recognize that you are layers of identity, you know, and doing that work first, I think, is the only way.
Game changer.
That you have the capacity to even see someone in that way.
Absolutely. And I love what you were saying with that is like to see someone and to not see obviously what people have pinned them as, but also see and allow room for change and shift and like evolution, because I feel like we're constantly evolving. Hopefully the goal is to constantly progress and get better, but also you're going to start shedding layers. Like I even tell like anybody, my friends or anybody who knows me is like, I'm like, yeah, well, if you knew me last year, cool, but I'm probably not even I'm not that key from last year. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully I've continued to evolve and like shed those layers, and hopefully you love me enough to allow me to do that. Because some people get so hung up on who you used to be when you were, especially like college years or just in your 20s. And you're like, yeah, but you used to be running the streets, or you used to be doing this with me. And it's like, yeah, babes, but I might have changed it up. You know, I might have wanted to shift my mindset, or I might have learned different ideas. And some people kind of not bring you down, I would say, but they kind of make you feel bad for evolving. Right. And I feel like that's huge, to like put aside what you may think that person or you want that person to be, and like be open to who they are and who they end up becoming. Yeah.
Because I mean, at the end of the day, we're in our 30s. There's so much more life that has the ability to impact who we are. That like we have to have that grace. You know, like, absolutely. And if you don't have that grace, then unfortunately, I could see that
you can't even sit with us. Thank you.
No, you can sit with us,
but you're gonna have to learn something, girl. You got to pull up a pen and paper. We're going to all take some notes.
You gotta update your system.
Update your
system because
update your phone.
It's not fair to hold someone to the standard of something that they've grown from.
Exactly. We're constantly moving forward, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Well, you know what? Thinking about layers, almost like peeling back an onion, like we said, where do you feel like, or what do you feel like your layers are now? You know?
Interesting. Because there was a lot of my life where I just felt like I had myself pinned down. Like I figured it out. And I won't even say a lot of my life. I will say like my early 20s.
We're so old.
I feel like
worked for so long.
Like my early 20s, like college and like shortly after college, I'm like, I got it. I figured it out.
You always think you did.
Sorry for those that didn't figure it out yet, but I figured it out.
Right.
I know what my purpose is.
Right. I'm walking it. I already know everything. Ooh,
and I was wrong. I mean, I wasn't wrong about everything, but like, I definitely knew a lot less than I am now realizing there is to know. But if we're just going layer by layer, the layers I do know that I still am a black woman.
Absolutely.
I've been a black woman the whole time. I'm a black woman who was raised by both a black man and a German woman. I am an educator. For a long time, I thought that meant that I was going to be a teacher for X amount of time, and then I was going to be, in administration, and then I was going to be principal. Like, that was, like, a trajectory that, like, I felt like made sense and, like, was the thing. I've since gone back to school and, adjusted that trajectory, but I still very much so identify as an educator. Mm-hmm. I identify as a sister. Mm-hmm. I identify as a sister to you, to Grace, but also to my good friends. Yeah. I identify as being someone who connects with others and really values deep connection.
You do. Look, this girl only wants to have deep conversations, okay? Just kidding. But most days she's like, let's go deeper. We're like, yeah, girl, it's just Wednesday, like, afternoon, but here we are.
Well, that kind of goes into what I was going to say next, because, like, one really big aspect of my identity I think is just being someone who is inquisitive and who, if I have a question, I want to ponder on it, and I want to hear perspective so I can have some type of stance. And it's not that I need to have my final stance, but I am, like, constantly questioning, like, what I think about something. Yeah. And, like, I allow myself to change what I think.
Right.
And so those are some of my things. I identify as also a partner. Yeah. For those who don't know, I got engaged this past summer. Yay. And so I identify as Aaron's fiance. And there's other things I identify as Faith's aunt. And yeah, those are some layers.
Okay, so within those layers, because those are a lot of different layers, and it's like, did you always know all of those things? Like, I just know I'm this, I just know I'm that, and maybe at what time in life did you start to maybe grasp the most things about your identity, like your identity, where you could say, I am this, I am that? At what period in your life did that happen, would you say? I
think things have grown roots the most in my late 20s. Yeah. I feel like that's where things started to, like, there were seeds that have been planted of, like, like, you were a teacher, so you have a seed there, but I don't necessarily see myself as an educator. Yeah, in the beginning, until I had, a little bit of roots in it. Yeah. Some things, were gifts. Faith is a gift, and I became her aunt when Grace was pregnant. Yeah. And so some things I think our identities are given to us, and I think how we show up is something that matters. Yeah. Well, enough about my layers. Tell me about your layers, girl. What are your layers?
Okay, so for my layers, I would say that I too am an aunt. I'm a sister. I'm a partner. I am a entrepreneur, I would say. And that took me a little while to, like, one, be okay with, and also even say, because sometimes you're like, no, God, I don't know about my own business, but, like, ugh. So that took me a while to kind of be, like, stand firm in saying. I feel like I'm a motivator. I feel like some of them, I think, are also aligned with what I'm learning is our gifts. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like it takes sometimes a while to figure out what your gifts are. Yeah. And then I think they're separate from, or they might not be separate from, but they're, like, very, it's almost confusing to be like, what am I good at and what are my gifts? Right. And I'm finding, like, the intersection between the two. Yeah. But trying to figure out, okay, but what am I running with? Like, what then is my purpose from those two things? Right. So I do think, like, in your 20s, you're trying to still figure out, like, oh, I'm really good at this, and I'll go with what I'm good at. But like you said, that might just be the seed that then something else sprouts from. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I feel like I did a lot of seed planting, or I was just throwing the seed, like, look, I think I'll just start over here and, like, trying this. And I was more of, I don't know. I really didn't. I went to school most times to socialize and to look cute and to play sports. That was like more of my like love life with school. And so that isn't, I feel like to all my like creative kids and brains that are coming up that are like, well, I'm just, I'm not getting a 4.0 or I'm not trying to go Ivy League. Like, where does that leave me? Mm-hmm. Because I think a lot of people make you feel like, oh, you're not going to make money in anything creative, or like you need to be this, that, or the third to mm-hmm. be successful. Mm-hmm. And so I actually got into a career, or what I went to study for was part of what was a gift of mine and something I felt comfortable in identifying in when I graduated. But funny enough, I didn't go into that field because I didn't completely identify mm-hmm. by the time I graduated. It was like, it wasn't the best fit. So for me, I did a lot of different things before I really found my purpose. And I'm in my 30s now. And now I'm figuring out, okay, it's not that all the things that I worked through to get there didn't help or mm-hmm. I didn't learn from, but sometimes it just takes a while. Yeah. So you do have to give yourself grace if you're just like on that journey trying to find yourself and what you're good at and like who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And like using the word purpose, it's interesting because even now I can't say for certain that like I've figured out my purpose,
Yeah,
like I think that there are areas that I was purposed to touch mm-hmm. and there was lives that I was purposed to mm-hmm. be a part of mm-hmm. and to experience yeah. and support what I can into. Yeah. And there's also so much gray area of what else it could be, what else, who else, and that's what else I'm supposed to do and be. And yeah. even with this podcast, like yeah. just like,
honey,
we said, okay, we're gonna do a podcast. Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Who's gonna listen to it?
I don't know. But here we are.
Yeah. And who has listened to it? I don't know.
I don't know, but here we are.
Yeah. And I absolutely feel like this is a part of our journey. The purpose. I think everything that you do, I really, really believe in the idea that God uses everything. Mm-hmm. And so
the good, the bad, everything.
I don't think that it's binary. Like, I don't mm-hmm. think it's like you are this and it's like linear and
yeah.
You start on the and for some people it is, and for some people's stories like it is they start in something and they do that thing for 30 years mm-hmm. and they take it to the moon. And that is mm-hmm. their path, mm-hmm. But something that I've kind of like realized between both of us, like mm-hmm. that's not how God had it for us.
That wasn't our story. I don't know about you, friend.
It hasn't been just this like linear thing.
And I feel like if people are honest, I don't think really anybody's is like straight. Like everybody has their ups and downs. Life be life, and sometimes. So it's like you again, like social media, people really show like the best parts of their life. I feel like a little media reel or movie reel, but you don't know what somebody's been through, no matter how much they make or their status, whatever it may be. So I just feel like also just within your own identity, not comparing, this is like speaking to myself, not comparing your journey to whatever you're looking for, whatever you're walking towards, to anyone else's. Mm-hmm. Because it can look so different and you really don't know what other people are going through. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or how they got there.
Yeah.
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 Don't compare.
Just don't do it.
Just don't do it.
It's
don't
better
compare
for
your
you
chapter 10 to somebody's 20.
Right.
Like, come on. Let's not. Let's not. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
beautiful.
When you think about what our code is, right?
Yeah.
Accepting and supporting your sister's identity. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about what happens when it's a little off, right? Yeah. Like, what's the confessions here? What's the juice here? What have you learned? Where have you grown from?
Yeah. I think for me, I've always really been I don't know why. Ever since I've been young, I've had this fire inside me. Even my mom will say, like, for, like, justice and for like the little guy or the underdog. I've always had that light in me that wanted to fight for that group. And so I feel like really early on, I tried to be, even as a kid, I don't even know why, but I was just so open to others' identities and who they were, and honoring who they say they are, who they want to be, you know? And I just think in that world, living like that and how is how I've tried to live for so long. You just look through a different lens. And I sometimes wish that people would kind of be like a little more open to like the spectrum of identities, and like that being their choice and them living their truth. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if I answered the question.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just kind of how I see identity anyway. It's like, it's not just about the physical, but just whatever anybody says they want to be, where they want to go, who they are, who they're working on. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people just have so many opinions about who one person should be. Mm-hmm. And I've just always been like, nah, let's dead that. You know what I mean? Like, be who you want to be, and you're not hurting anyone or yourself, hopefully, then we can figure it out from there. You know? How about you? I've tried to, so in all in all, I try to be pretty supportive. Yeah. To my folks, like, however they identify, but.
I think I'm going to turn the question a little bit. And, because similarly, like, I think that I do try to keep it, especially because our identity was just weird to get to, you know, like,
it was very different.
In the beginning, at least, you know, in the beginning, we were just a little confused. We were a little confused about, you know, who we were and why it was like that.
And when that's most biracial kids, I feel like you are trying to identify, like, which side makes the most sense for you, and who you are, right? And so I think that that's kind of where it. Where my confession lies. I think it's more so for me, like, how I didn't take the steps to accept and support my own identity. And so then how am I truly, like, really I'm just like, be who you want, but like not really understanding who anybody is at the same time. And I think that when growing up, I because I was confused, I decided to just decide and choose a side almost, you know? So, like, what I did know was that I was in spaces that I didn't feel comfortable with. I was not comfortable at school. I didn't make a whole lot of friends at my school. I didn't feel like anybody had the ability to understand me because our story was a little bit different than we lived like peers. The same life, so I'd be forgetting that too. Like, no, we were only like a few years apart, but we basically have the same upbringing. We have for sure. So
almost I felt the same. All shared experience of just like not really knowing how to be myself, who I am at home, who I am with my sister. Was not who I was in school or in extracurricular activities. And so because of that experience, I was like, okay, well, you know what I do know is I'm going to go to HBCU. That's what I do know.
And that's what we both did. Yeah. We both needed that.
Yeah, because what I also know is when I go and visit my grandmother and I'm in a more Black space, I feel more understood there.
Absolutely.
And
that's what that is.
And that's what
I went to college.
And so I went to Howard, and I love Howard. I loved Howard. I loved my experience at Howard. I loved the gifts that Howard gave me. Particularly my other sisters, you know. But
I went to Bennett, by the way. Bennett College. My little plug.
Yeah, of course.
Bennett College.
Of course.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay.
We do love Howard, and we love what Howard's bringing to both of our lives.
I love Bennett too.
Okay, the bells. We love each other. Like, on HBCUs, we gotta stand up. We gotta stick together. And it's Black History Month, so
absolutely.
It's made us who we are. Yeah. It made it really a part of our identity, for real.
Yeah. But I do think that when I did go off to school, I kind of like in that moment made a decision, like, I'm a Black woman, period.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's what I've been missing. I just haven't, you know, just declared that I am a black woman and that's it.
Yeah.
And so for the years of being in college and maybe a couple years after that, like, I didn't, like, people will be like, what are you mixed with? I'm like, I'm a black woman. But my mom is German.
Right. Not the hands up. But yeah.
And I think because we also had, like I said, this scenario where we are around our dad's family and my mom,
so much.
My mom's side of the family, we are in Germany.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think it was just kind of easy to like make that decision, and also being in spaces that like didn't necessarily serve us.
Yeah.
You know,
and also they identify us as black women. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's like when it comes to the caucasity out here, you know, they're like, oh, she black. Was she not Caucasian? We know that.
We do know that.
We do know that.
That's one
Either
thing
way,
we
know that we know, right? We don't know which box you checking off, but we know it ain't Caucasian. I love saying
it's
that
the bounce.
It's the bounce for me. It's not that. So yeah. So we learned that real quick in the spaces that we came up in.
Yeah. Real quick.
So yeah, that's real.
And going back to your point, like I do very much so when you were saying, you know, how you really you had a heart for like the underdog.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes in that like if you compared our stories of being in school, like I was very much so like super quiet, super duper shy, and like you very much so always were like, make sure to ask Jel. Make sure to see what she wants. Or like, you know, you really did speak up for me in times that I didn't feel confident to. And you always did like ask about me, you know, like, have you eaten yet?
Yeah.
you know, or whatever the thing.
I mean, it's been like that for a lot. But if I rock with you, I'm going to make sure you're good. And I also was in the same spaces, but I had a little bit of a different viewpoint, I think. I think I identified high school with sports, and that was like my safe haven. You know, I wasn't, I don't know, in any one group, but that was my home. That was my group for most of the time, you know, games and your teammates and stuff. So I was also in pageants kind of not like randomly, and so that would kind of put me in a different light within the town and stuff too, which it was just a strange like place to be, I think, for a person of color, where the majority, you were not the majority, you were very much the minority, to the point where like, I don't know, it's just, you know, you have stages where it's cool to be this, it's not cool to be that, it's cool to wear that, it's like not trendy to do that, and just like, you know, things are trending now, it's like, okay, you guys are just now kind of picking it up, but we've always been the trendsetters, you know, we've always been the blueprint. Sorry to say, but not sorry, you know, and it's glad, I really appreciate that we're walking in it now, loving ourselves, in our blackness, in our mixed race. Like, we're still trying to learn more about that history as well, but just that like beauty and like confidence came out of it, like it blossomed in the end. So that's, I think
really it would be really cool to have Mom on the pod one day and just like hear her.
Y'all would love her. She's cute. A hoot.
She's a cutie.
I know she's listening to this or she's watching. She's a hoot.
She's telling me,
a hoot, honey, and she's the
what
creative
she likes
mind.
about
what she likes about it.
About the episode.
Giving her tips.
And,
she's a hoot.
Tips.
Whew.
Well, that's actually
talking about
where
sis
we're going.
Tips, talking about them sis tips. So we try to kind of give you guys tips for actually how to combat, or like not combat, but like actually do the code breakdown. Actually find love in what we're speaking about, which is obviously accepting each other's identity. So the first one that I was thinking of was kind of like just better communication. You know, and proper communication, having and creating a safe space for each other to be able to like land and be open and like let your guard down. Do you feel like that's
for sure,
that's a good one that's needed?
For sure. And like, you know, I think that saying just like, having open communication, like, is one level, but like you said, building that space.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like
overnight.
You can talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, not
trust
the space
needs to be in there.
You know, you need to put in place.
Yeah.
You know, have experience. Your sister has to have experience knowing that they can talk to you, and I think part of that, I guess, kind of goes into mine is like making sure to be actively listening. You know, it's like if I come to you and I'm trying to, you know, share things that are really near and dear to me, and you're just like, you know, bombarding me with questions that I'm like trying to figure it out as I'm saying it. Right. Or, you know, or not keying into when I need you to maybe just stay quiet for a little bit, you know,
just
or
be present.
Say something, you know?
Right.
I think part of active listening is paying attention to the body language of your sister, and like, it's not just not having your phone. Right. You know, I think when people say active listening, they think it's like, oh, make sure that like you're not on your phone. Like, but girl, be there, be present. Yeah. You know, pay attention to their body, like the nonverbals that they're giving off, so you're, you know, with them in a real way.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that also goes into mine, is like also being able to encourage your sister in a real way, and not just like, yes, you look, you know, your hair's, you're snapped, like, compliments about the outer is cool, but also just like encouraging them, like, yeah, I saw you really, like, you aced that exam that you were studying for a week, like, love that, like, you know, or you didn't hit up your ex that we talked about for 2 weeks. Like, you actually, you know what I mean? Like, you took my advice. Maybe I was listening, or maybe you were listening, and then we, like, actually moved forward and, like, progressed on the plan that we talked about. Yeah. And I'm, like, high-fiving you, or, like, giving you congratulations. Yeah. You know? Like, that's huge. I don't think we do that enough. Yeah. Of just, like, high-fiving, giving hugs, and saying, like, wow. Yeah. You're doing excellent. You gotta, and sometimes it's, like, you got up and you went to that job. Great. Yeah. It's Friday again, and you made it another week. I'm proud of you. And not in a funny way, but just in a real way. Like, I know how hard that boss is on you, or I know that project that you're doing is whatever. Like, being like a cheerleader for one another, I think is major. Right.
And I love that you said kind of like bringing back what they've already done, what they've already accomplished. You know, like, that's huge, because in our world where it is so easy to just fall into like a whole bunch of cognitive distortions about who you are, having a sister who can say, hey, but
you're better than you were.
You are. Yeah. And also, you've done this before.
Right. You're not starting from scratch. Right. We say that all the time. Yeah. Listen, you're not on ground zero, like level 1. Right. Remember when you did, and you crushed it? Yeah. Exactly. So having that encouragement, that's what you really need. And like a friend and a sister, like, you're doing great, sweetie. Keep it up. Yeah, for sure. Another thing I thought about was just making sure that you're validating your friends' feelings, right? Yeah. Like, you don't have to like placate them, or you know, like, you don't have to like, if you think that something is off, it's not about like not saying the things that you think are off, but also like making sure that you're like really seeing things from their perspective, and like making sure that they know that you understand their perspectives, because even if you have something to say that's not exactly in line with where they're going, or what they're, you know, what they're trying to do, like, you can't just give that without, you know, it's a give and take. Yeah, you have to make sure that they know that you hear them. Right. And absolutely. That their feelings perspective is valid. Yeah. I sometimes say that flat out, like, okay, like, sometimes I'll listen for a while, and then I'll just say, you know what? Your feelings are very valid about how you feel about this, you know, whether it's your boss or whatever. Like, just first off, let me just tell you that. Because I feel like some people just feel like they're not heard. Right. You know, and like nobody's listening. They feel like hopeless. And it's like, well, first of all, you're good. You know what I mean? In the sense of like, you're allowed to feel how you feel. Yeah. Nobody can take that away or say, you shouldn't be mad. You shouldn't be sad. Yeah. So that's really beautiful. And I love how you said,
I validate your feelings about your boss. Like,
yeah,
I think it's also important to say specifically what you're validating. Right. Not like, oh, I validate your feelings.
Oh my gosh.
But
right. Girl, about what?
Right.
Why have you been listening this time?
Be specific.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. Tell me that you really understand by saying it in your own words.
And you're hearing me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And not just to respond, but to listen.
Yeah.
Because that'd be it too. People would just be like, waiting for you to stop. And you're like, okay, it's go mode.
Yeah.
Like,
what if you just...
Friend, right. Friend, come on.
I wasn't there yet.
Right. That's what... We be doing that sometimes, though, no lie.
Yeah.
Jill's like, actually, I haven't got to the end. I'm like, okay, well, I have 3 minutes. So...
Yeah.
But it is, you know, we have worked on that a lot where it's like, well, you know what? If I don't have the time for you to give me the 20 minutes you need, let's circle back and then let me be able to be not distracted, not like, you know... Because I get distracted in like 2.5 seconds. Right. Let's just revisit and then you can tell me the whole story.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's keep that in the forefront too. Like, people can be busy. You can be busy. Like, that's okay.
No shade to that.
And also, like, you can say, I'm so sorry. I want to be there for you in this moment. And I want to give you my full undivided attention. Right now, I'm working on a deadline.
Yeah.
And can I call you back in 2 days when the deadline's passed? Absolutely. You know, like, you don't have to just, like, act like you're listening while you're really typing and thinking about something else. Like, I think that the more we are transparent about the fact that, like, it might not be a good time right this moment. But I'd love to circle back with, like, what you're saying is still very important to me, and I want to be there for you. However, like, can I call you back at 8? Right. Or can I hit you tomorrow? Right. Absolutely. And I love you so much. And I'm so sorry that this is heavy for you right now. And also, with the sorry thing, because I feel like we sorry the mess out of life. Fair. Like, fair. Oh my goodness. That's fair. So maybe even, and that's a beautiful way that you said that. I'm glad you said that because it did make me think, like, I've been trying to say sorry less. And really think about, like, use my sorries for what I really am. Fair. And then, and then use other words to kind of fill in the blank for what I really feel. Yeah. So let's restate in that scenario. What did I say? Okay. I said, I'm sorry that this is so heavy for you right now. Yeah. How do we re-say that? I feel like it's one of those, it's those, like, I see that you're going through this really tough time. Yeah. You know, I feel like you can say, like, I feel like so, like, I don't want to say heartbroken, but, like, so sad that this is something that you're going through. It hurts me to know that you're going through this. Yeah. And then back, like, I would love to circle back about this as I just been finishing this up. Yeah. Don't think I don't, I love you any less. I will, make a point to talk to you. When are you available tomorrow? Or do you have any time later tonight? It's hard to overthink like that, like the whole sentence. But I think once you start to make it a habit, it probably does get easier. Because I say I'm sorry when people, like, run into me. And I'm just like, I'm over that 2020 vow. Yeah. Leaving her behind. I do want to add that this section, the sis tips section, is not because we have mastered this at all. I hope that is what they think. I just want to make sure to put that down on the video because fooled, honey. We are working on these things right now. These are the things that we are trying to do right now. And be. Right now. Not even before. Right now. Right. So, not at all. Just wanted to lead with that. So, Yeah. Absolutely. Now, we do like to leave you guys, like, with a little challenge. Yeah. So, our challenge this month is to pair up with someone, a sister, a good friend that maybe you haven't done this or maybe you haven't done it in a while. Excuse me. And talk through your identity. I think that typically when we meet people as adults, we meet friends as adults, sometimes we don't get the full, picture all in one, conversation of what someone's identity is. And it's like, you pick up on things because you know someone over time, but like to hear it from them, again, this isn't about what you know about your sister and what you know about your friend. It's about what they know about themselves, what their identity is. Yeah. So if you've known them for all 30 of your years, there's things that you don't know if you haven't heard it from their mouth.
Absolutely. And maybe they haven't been open to share, or maybe they won't be open to share too. I think that's another thing, is just like, be okay if they're like, well, I need to sit with that myself. Maybe I'll circle back with you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And being okay with that too.
Right. Right.
Because
they might not know.
Yeah.
They really might not.
I mean, we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's daily work. But to talk about it a little bit is to really get to know and love them. Because you're like, well, who are you right now? Yeah. Or if you can't even answer that, like, where do you want to go? Maybe it's some way that I can, like, help you or just talk you through it. Yeah. Yeah.
And wrapping that into, like, something that we have actually done recently is, like, some of our friends, especially our friends from college, where it's like, we knew each other as we were growing into our adult years, but there were conversations that we just didn't know. Like,
to have.
Like, do I know about?
Yeah.
Or
like your childhood, where you come from,
like what the elementary school was like,
right.
Or do we just talk about high school right before we came to college? Or were we like life on, from what we met on, with little glimpses of, oh, I know you have a sister, and her name is Brie, or whatever, whatever the thing.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that'll be really powerful. Within, our friendships, our sisterhoods, and I hope y'all's too.
Absolutely. Connect. Dig a little deeper this year. That's what I think we're working on. It's just like getting to know ourselves, getting to know our friends, our sisters, and maybe even new sisters too. I feel like there's a lot of new sisters coming into our life. That's just like, that's beautiful.
Like a flood.
Yeah. And easy. Not like us searching, but just like them coming in and being like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Come on in.
And that hasn't been the case for every year. And that's not, I mean, it's different. It's different. And I think as we are learning to be sisters to each other and sisters to the friends that we've grown with for a while, I think it'll just make it so that we can be even better and
to anybody else who comes, just open. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully this has helped you guys too. Yeah. This has really been very therapeutic for me.
Absolutely.
Or for both of us, just like taking the time to really figure out some of these things and like actually try to walk it out. Yeah. That's the real tea. I love it. Well. Okay, so we're gonna do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
Let's do it. Okay. You ready? I do a little hair flip. Y'all, my hair is getting a little lip. Show your little lip.
A little something.
I didn't know this. Okay, this is just a fun fact, but me, you, and our best friend, our hair anniversary is very close to each other. Yeah. Did you know that? Yeah. Okay, we have a friend who hers is a year. No, wait. It's a day before my lockiversary, but she got her locks a year before me. Yeah. And then you're a month after me, which makes like a couple weeks. Yeah. Dang.
June 12th.
Wow, we got to do a photo shoot. Yeah. That's coming. But shout out to all the lock girlies, whatever part of your journey you're on. I think I've converted a few people lately. I'm very excited about that. So it's beautiful. Anyways, okay guys, sorry. Ups, down. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So we like to end.
Jill likes to end.
I like to end with our little saying. Mm-hmm. You ready?
Let's do it, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Through the ups, the downs, and the darkness, our guiding light is love. The real sister code. Yay!
Bye. Episode 5. Bye. Thank you so much for watching.
See you next month.
See ya.